get every channel right, look that the whole funnel is working, and even have conversations about how does your package look like, right? How is the customer actually receiving your product? What is in the packaging of the product? Is there like a referral code? Is there any opportunities for an upsell, cross-sell, whatever it is? It's none of our business in the first place.
Today, I sit down with Franz Merz, who is an agency owner, and today we talk about all different kinds of things. Number one, we talk about how he started off as a CMO and was able to scale his brand to 7 figures, how he acquired an agency and was able to scale that up as well, and how he operates his agency and the team structure behind that, and so much more. I'm Nikita from aspectagency.com, and let's get into the podcast. Franz, it's a pleasure to have you on the Scaling E-commerce podcast. Finally, I was trying to get you on earlier, but unfortunately the internet connection isn't as good in Bali as it used to be. So it's a pleasure to have you on, man.
Thanks so much for having me. It's a great opportunity to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we were recording, we were chatting a little bit about your previous history and everything that you worked on. And one of the things that you mentioned to me was that you were able to build up a 7-figure vegan supplement brand in the past. And obviously that's in the past and you're running an agency right now. Tell me a little bit about that specific brand, how you were able to build it up and what made you transition into the agency lifestyle.
So basically I started at the company as a CMO, right? I had different backgrounds from branding when I worked at BMW. I had backgrounds in email marketing when I worked at another startup. And eventually I joined the vegan supplement brand. And joined them as a CMO, and we really ramped up meta ads. And I was pretty new to the space, to be fair, but I was just gaining knowledge day by day. I was grinding it out and soaking up every information I could find on the internet, basically, and really go deep into the media buying stuff. And back then, it was not like you just go on a broad targeting. You really need to figure out which audience you are targeting and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right.
Then we had the customer acquisition channel going, and I was really like, okay, we need to make sure the client is buying a second time and a third time and all that kind of stuff. So I took care of the email marketing side of things, right? And so week by week we passed, we grow, and my skill set got better and better. Eventually we had 6-figure months on the Shopify store and had a really good run. After that, I was deciding to maybe challenge myself a little bit more because, day in, day out, things get like a little bit boring. Maybe not boring, but we all know the space. Yeah, and so I eventually thought, okay, let's give the agency model a try because I have all the skill set, right? And then I took my first project on the side. That was pretty successful, even though it wasn't e-commerce, it was recruiting back then. But I said, okay, I can do stuff on the side and write an invoice and make money off that.
Right.
Need as much I make in a month when I got as the role as a CMO. And obviously, I took another chance, and things grow. And and I parted ways with the supplement brand and did go all in on the agency. I did that for a couple of months, and then opportunity occurs where I actually was able to buy another agency, right? Because they had like a project going on and I was buying, which is now called a 7 times performance. And back then I bought it. I took care of the operations then. I optimized it a little bit, brought on my clients to the new brand and never looked back. And today we're doing still the same things. We're taking care of the customer.
So the acquisition was more of an acqui-hire, basically, where you were able to bring on the team to do the fulfillment side, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Nice.
So that was pretty working well. And I got pretty lucky, actually, because I was taking on the cash flow without having any big risk, and then just go from there.
I'm actually curious about that because this is the first time that I'm speaking to someone that has acquired an agency for their business. So break that down for me. How was the whole transaction process, from start to finish, and how did you actually find this agency to actually purchase? Because it's a lot harder to do the actual transaction, rather than being like, I want to buy an agency. It's like, okay, cool. Which agency wants to give up their clientele to someone like a stranger, for example?
Yeah, it's actually one of the stories I like to tell the most because I was at the very same place. And as I told you, we are around traveling a lot because I was in the same place 2 or 3 years ago at the same living room I'm sitting right now. And I had a couple of clients with my agency where I just started out, but I got the feeling, I'm not doing enough. It's not good enough. I don't have enough clients. The team is not growing fast enough. And I was really like angry on myself, right? We all know that feeling. So I had this moment, and then my girlfriend picked me. I said, oh, let's go for a walk. That's maybe a good idea. So we went for a walk, and I got a phone call from a good friend of mine. And he's saying, hey, I know 2 guys. They have different ventures going on, and they want to sell their agency because takes too much focus for them. I was like, okay, let's speak. And then literally 48 hours, we sit together in a Zoom call and saying, this is our clients, this is what we do. Can you do it? I was like, yes. And I told them, how much is it? And they gave me a price tag. We did 1 round of negotiation. We were like, okay, set. Because they were so keen to give away the business, and I was so keen to level up. So it was really a perfect fit. And a week later, we signed all papers because that's the nitty gritty stuff. But it was possible to do all papers like in a week or 10 days. It was, and yeah, and did all intro calls with the clients, and they were out of business. I took the brand and scaled them up again. Basically, they were on the downturn. I was purchasing it, buying the agency, and then we went on a upturn again.
Dude, that's amazing. And how was the difficulty of that initial transition period? Because I think that's usually where I would see the most problems personally. I've never done a transaction like that before, but just thinking about it, it's like that transition period is always the most hardest because you don't know if, it's like getting a new liver or getting a new kidney. You don't know if that's going to be rejected by your body. Same thing with the clients. It's like you don't know if those clients are going to reject you as a new leader or as a new head of the agency or not. So walk me through that. How did that go?
Surprisingly, really well. But I have to say, I come along really good with people. So I barely fight with any people. And I'm like, I like to be myself, right? I like to do a silly joke. Maybe if it's not the right place for it, I do it anyway, right? And it turns out that most of the people are actually appreciate it because I just had a call today and they were saying, yeah, I would like to work with you in the future because you're different. You're not like the, yeah, we're an agency and we do this and we are super boring and we work 9 to 5 and you can reach us here and there. I tell them, hey, look, when we work together, we have fun working on the project. We have fun when we have a call, we do jokes, we enjoy the process of like leveling up. And if you want to level up with me together, that's totally fine. And if you don't want to, well, that's up to you. Well, then you're not a good fit for us. And this scenario is actually turning out pretty good, that we find clients that we enjoy working with. And I think that is something we should be more grateful for, actually.
It's great that you mentioned that because I've noticed that same exact shift personally when working with my own clients. Is when I started off, I was just purely like business. I take myself very seriously. We get things done, we bring the results. But when I started to be more personal and started to show my personality a lot more on whether it's the sales calls, the client calls, and even the employee calls and like team calls that we have, I started to enjoy the process a lot more because I can actually be myself rather than putting on like this business, suit on or button ups on type like surface. And it's a lot more enjoyable to have that business, and the clients actually find it more enjoyable to work with you because you're actually showing yourself versus like a facade in a way.
100%. And I think there's some deeper level of connection, right? It's not just like a working connection. It's actually like, if you ask the client, hey, how are you? How was the weekend? How was the long weekend? How was the holiday with the family? How is your dog? Like even the simple questions are taking such a strong bond between you and the client that when something goes wrong, and we know there are fuck ups, that happens to everybody. Maybe there's a wrong link in a campaign or whatever it is. You can say sorry and really mean it. And the client feels, okay, it was a mistake. We all do mistakes. We can move on from there, right? But if you have like a more professional and you always deliver on point and this and that, and you do a mistake, which is also totally fine, but it maybe brings a different light to the scenario, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's the way that you're framed in a way. Well, not framed literally, but just like the way that the client already has, like the context that you're coming in at it from, because it's more of like a friendly, like, hey, I fucked up, what can we do about this? Rather than like, you have like this perfect image, and then when you mess up, it kind of like taints that perfect image in a way, rather than, we're just all people, things happen, that sort of thing. Now, transitioning more onto the agency side of things, once you've acquired the agency, you're now, from what we've talked about, you're having a very holistic approach when it comes to working with your clients and the brands that you work with. Tell me a little bit about that for people that are unfamiliar with your agency. Like, how do you approach client work when, you work with them?
Yeah, so basically, and this is totally fair, there are a lot of agencies doing one stuff, and you're one of them because you're like the absolute top G's in the email marketing space,
Appreciate
right?
it.
We try to, when we onboard a client, wherever the client is, depends on the client, obviously, but we try to see it as a whole company and not only in one acquisition channel, right? We have a look on how's Meta performing, how's Google performing, or like Meta or TikTok even, how is Google performing, and how is the customer retention rate? Or even one step further, we look, where's the conversion rate at the moment, right? Because when we want to drive effective traffic via all the platforms, we need to make sure that traffic is actually converting, right? And I can do like the sickest ads, 5% CTR rate. I have the sickest offer, but when the checkout wasn't working or the checkout is shit and I lose 90% of the people there, well, the whole funnel is not working, right? Or it's not working like as it could be. And this is just one example how we look at the things in general, like the holistic approach, as you said. Get every channel right, look that the whole funnel is working, and even have conversations about how does your package look like, right? How is the customer actually receiving your product? What is in the packaging of the product? Is there like a referral code? Is there any opportunities for an upsell, cross-sell, whatever it is? It's none of our business in the first place, but there's something called, and I got this from Sam Owens, it's called second order consequences, right?
Right.
You do one thing and it maybe eventually it's had not an impact right away, but it could have an impact 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now. And eventually if you make 1,000 purchases or like 10,000 purchases and you get a 10% in the back end without any ad spend more, you want profits, right? Because you're just selling without any further costs and you're basically stacking profits. And then you do this with every channel, with every opportunity, your business is different. And I don't see many people out there who are actually providing this kind of service. And I'm really proud of it, actually, to be the person or be the agency who's saying, we go the extra mile. We look beyond, you say, über den Tellerrand in Germany, or beyond the borders, basically.
Right. And that's the great thing about having like a very omni-channel approach is once you start to tweak things here and there, like it might not even be like you don't have to double Facebook ad spend or TikTok ad spend or whatever to see those marginal improvements. All you have to do is just maybe get like a 10% bump here or a 15% bump here. And you start to have a completely different business that could be making an extra 50K a month or 100K a month just by those little tiny tweaks.
100%. And just recently, we had a client which were actually like have all channels for customer acquisition in place. But the problem is they have like a 95% first conversions, right? And then they are like 150K per month. And we say, okay, let's fix the retention. We ramped up Klaviyo and did another 25% the month after, right?
Nice.
And now they're saying, okay, we don't need to level up, or if you want to increase ad spend, we don't need to like have the same ROAS, or we don't have like even improve it or go slightly lower depending on the case, but we can actually decrease our ROAS target by, if really like go from 5 to 4, which allows a way higher ad spend because the backend is working much better within a 30-day frame, right?
Right.
And for me, it's crazy because it's common sense in a way, and we are in our marketing bubble, right? We'll be speaking about the things as would be the most normal thing, right? But still there are e-commerce founders and owners out there, or CMOs or whatever it is, who are not thinking about this kind of things. And I find it very interesting. Like for us, it's very common sense.
The amount of brands that I've talked to, and I'm talking to them like 30% of revenue should be coming from email as like a normal thing. And they're like, what? How is that possible? And like they're only getting like 10% or even 5%. And it's just like, well, you got to have the right systems in place, or you have to have the right partners in place in order to achieve that. And then they start to understand it. And they understand it even more after we start working together. When it comes down to running the agency, I used to have the whole holistic approach as well, just like you did. And to me, it got really, really tiring. And I got really burnt out very quickly after handling think like 5 or 6 clients, and we were doing everything for them: the creative, the copywriting, the ad structure, the emails, the whole enchilada basically. How do you manage that? And like, how do you manage like either like stress or burnout or the team structure to prevent the burnout when handling everything for our clients?
So I have it structured like the following. In our team, we are like, there's this T-shaped guy, right? It has like a basic knowledge about all cross topics. And then it's at one topic where you see like the super pro, right? And as a founder at the beginning, you're the guy for everything, right? You should be like a super team, like you should be the deep knowledge for everything, right? But when I built a team, I was realizing we need a team which is like good in all topics, but had like maybe one deep approach to everything and could do certain tasks way faster. For example, we have one person who has a good knowledge about every channel, know how Facebook ads work, Google ads, all etc. But the main point is when we do a Klaviyo setup or building, do improvements on Klaviyo setup, the person is really good at the Klaviyo and is much more familiar with the topics, can work much faster. So we can use that as an advantage to have this task done really well and fast, without losing any kind of the other services and doing them worse, right? And same for other things. You have somebody who's really good for media buying. Like there's some people out there who are saying, oh, media buyer is not that important at the moment, but I think there's a fair play to say we have one person who's only taking care about the media buying, because there's always like changes and stuff like that. And we have a person who is, for example, extremely good in topic Google ads, right? Because Google ads also very different from meta ads. And we know when we have like a project, we have like these things that we have, and then we align the task to the expertise of the certain persons, right? For me, I'm in a lucky position that don't need to be like the super T-shaped guy anymore, right? We have somebody for Klaviyo, for Google, for Meta, and I just take care that everybody is happy, that we have some new cool clients, and working is general fun. So that's the really good part. Of course, I will be involved in some operations and all this stuff that, but basically this is how we structure things and made really good experiences.
Right. Now, how do you go about like hiring those T-shaped people? Because they're very hard to find. Or is there a specific methodology that you follow when let's say you bring on a Google ad specialist, but they only know Google ads, they don't know Facebook, TikTok, or maybe they don't know how Klaviyo works? Is there a specific way that you train people up when you bring them on to make them more T-shaped rather than just I-shaped, I guess?
Over the years, we've built some solid SOPs, right? It just come over time. Then we build the SOPs with looms, etc., etc. So we all watch the same videos, right? We have all the same knowledge. Of course, we bought some courses, have resources here and there. But in the first place, when I looking for new people, the first thing I do is I take my phone, I watch at my contacts, and I think about 10 people who maybe knows one or two more person that could be a fit for this role, right?
Right.
And you will be surprised how many opportunities you get back, right? Because if you send like 10 contacts, you send it to 10 contacts, they have like another 10 contacts, 5 of them replies, you still got 50 replies, right? Maybe you get sometimes you get 5, sometimes you get 10, but even though you get 5 to 10 really good aspiring people, they're coming from your network. And when they're coming from your network, they are like in a different mindset, because obviously they're connected to one of your friends. They want to deliver on a really high status and all that kind of things, right? Things that are just normal if somebody's coming from your network. And this is basically what we do, right? And I never did something else. Like even with, in the beginning, I struggled finding clients, right? Like every agency, we struggled here and there, and then it was not really a constant lead flow. When I started, I was just checking my contact list and texting, hey, I'm starting out, I've got experience from here. Just send me over 2-3 contacts if you know about somebody with maybe could need help. And it worked pretty well. And I just applied the same concept for finding new people.
Yeah, that's usually going through your own referral network is the best way to hire people. That's what I do first. And then I move on to going on to my social network, like people that follow me on Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. And then I go to Indeed and LinkedIn hiring and all those different job placement boards, because you're kind of spreading out within your social circle, people that follow you, and then just random people, because the wider out you go, the worse quality. I wouldn't say the worst quality. I've actually had really, really good hires from LinkedIn with, like, not surprisingly, like some of the best people that I've hired are from LinkedIn. But you do get a lot of good quality candidates right off the bat within that social circle.
And to be fair, like, we are not like 100-person agency, right? I'm talking also freelancers, influencers, micro-influencers, all that kind of stuff.
Of course.
I don't want to be like the person who says, oh, he's like hiring people to hire 100 people in a month, because obviously that's not the case, right? But for situations, I just use this technique to find like an effective way to find the right people, right? And that applies for every area. If it's like influencers, freelancers, employees, everything.
Got it. Now, I think that would be a really good point to end on here. Now, with that said, what is the best way for people to work with you or to work with your agency?
So you can book, obviously, a call on our website, so 7times-performance.com. Check out there are some case studies. There's a Calendly link. Feel free to book a call. We can connect on LinkedIn. It's Franz Merz. It's FranzMerz. And and maybe you find another podcast, because I'm really trying to spread the word of 7 Times Performance, because I'm proud of what we do, and maybe the person who is listening or looking at this right now is part of that in a shorter time frame. Yeah,
for sure. And actually, before we end, I'm actually curious, what's the reason behind the name 7 Times Performance?
You want the real reason?
Yeah, it's a very interesting name.
So I asked, because I didn't come up with the name, right? I bought the agency, but I asked the same question to the guys I bought it from, and they were like, they were standing on a whiteboard and thinking about names, right? And they were thinking like 3x rowers, 4x rowers, 6x rowers, but nothing sexy. Like 10x is obviously Grant Cardone branded. You can do that. And then they thought, 7 times is quite nice. Not really a rowers target. It's not 10x, so they call it 7 times. And they have like different parts of the agency. One is doing like more media side, and one is doing even the performance side, which we are doing right now. So it's 7 times performance. It's such a boring story, actually.
That's the thing. Like it's something very, very simple sometimes like that. Like for me, like I'm like, I just need a really cool 1-word name, and we came up with aspect and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna make the K or the C a K and make it backwards, and it's just stuck with it since. So
yeah,
that's really cool, man. And it was a pleasure to have you on. And with that said, I'll look forward to the next one.
Yeah, man. Speak soon.
Thanks again for joining us on the Scaling E-commerce podcast. If you enjoyed it or learned something new, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps out with the algorithm. If you want email marketing tips delivered straight to your inbox on a weekly basis from yours truly, then check out the link below or in the show notes to subscribe and join my newsletter. If you're a D2C brand with at least 10,000 email subscribers and interested in starting a conversation to work together, then go to aspectagency.com, and we'd love to chat with you. And if you want to stay up to date with anything email and SMS, just follow me on Twitter at Nikita Vakrushev, or check the show notes for the link. With that said, I'm Nikita, and I'll see you in the next one.